my name is Sarah Havens, and I'm a field specialist in natural resources for University of Missouri Extension. I work out of the Phelps County office if you're looking for me, but I cover pretty much most of southern Missouri. Segue a little bit into the walnut syrup aspect. So if you're thinking about a sugar bush, which we usually use that term for maple, but you want trees with more canopy tend to be larger producers for sap. So we have seen that if you have a tree that's kind of like really tightly packed together, trying to get its leaves up in the canopy, it's not as big of a sap producer as the ones that have great big canopies. We've found the same is true in walnuts. I will say that anecdotally, because we've not collected probably enough data to say that with complete, you know, significance, but you may or may not mow in the off season. So again, depending how often or what you're doing in the sugar bush in the off season, you can mow. Some weed control probably helps a little bit with keeping your soil conditioned and your soil moisture available. This might also be a place that you think about some type of, I know silvopasture next, but you might think about some type of livestock that utilize. We don't leave livestock in the sugar bush on a permanent basis, but you might run like goats through for a couple days to help with like poison ivy and brambles and that type of weedy invasion that's in there. Establishment can be based on location and ease for collecting sap. So again, I know several of our maple syrup producers, you know, they've kind of established hillside to use that to their advantage. And then again, plant closer in the beginning because you are gonna lose trees. You'll lose them to wildlife, you'll lose them to pests. So it's good to plant a little bit closer at the start and go from there. Walnut syrup, and this is kind of my last piece. It's very similar process to maple syrup. We tap the trees, we collect the sap. Similar seasons, so I usually start my collection the second week of January is when we put the taps out initially. Just like with maples, we want freezing nights and we want like mid 40s to low 50s during the day. So the sap is flowing during that time period. Orchards, we are still kind of working on some of the research as far as if we can have good nut producers and good sap producers. We can use those orchards for two things. But you can, you know, there's nothing that would stop you from establishing an orchard with improved nut varieties, thinking that you're going to produce walnuts, but also tapping some of those trees. I always tell folks walnut is also very valuable as a timber veneer tree. So if you are going to go and start tapping established trees, my recommendation is don't put holes in the really nice, straight, clean trees because they might have some more value to you as a veneer tree. Missouri, though, has no shortage of ugly, leggy, huge walnuts that can be tapped for this. And again, in some parts of Missouri, black walnut is more prevalent than maples. I work a lot in Southwest Missouri, and they were really excited to think about black walnut syrup because they do have red maples and some sugar maples, but not nearly as many as we see in River Hills. So just some pictures. Again, this is a tap in one of our walnuts and the sap flowing out. It is a little bit less, walnut tends to have a lower sugar content to the sap initially. So we measure this with a refractometer. We can measure the sugar content of sap. And walnut tends to be a little bit lower. If you see conversion rates for syrup, maple is usually like 40 gallons of sap are needed to make 1 gallon of syrup. In black walnut, it's like 55 to 65 gallons of sap to make 1 gallon of syrup. But the price, if you're gonna sell, does make a difference. So black walnut syrup sells for about $300 a gallon. Maple syrup sells for about $100 a gallon. So kind of helps with that conversion, making up for it. Just some pictures from different types of collection for walnut syrup. So again, I've done it kind of the old-fashioned way with metal taps and hanging bags. and collected that way, but a tubing system can also be utilized. If you've gone through all the site preparation and establishment, that makes it a lot easier if you can kind of think that long distance. So, thank you.